My name is Jay Moore. I'm your healthy accountant, and welcome to today's Enlightenment series. And today we'll be talking about change, the first C to an enlightened life. Change, the first C to an enlightened life. All right, guys. This week we will be basically talking about all week the 7 C's of the enlightened life. And so today is change. And if you were looking for some change, I've got a story for you. And it's not going to be my personal story at this moment, but the story is found in Acts, um, chapter 9, and you probably want to read that whole chapter. I'm not going to read the whole chapter. What I am going to read is I'm going to read verse. What's that? Verse 5. I'm sorry. Yeah, verse 5 through 5 and 6, 4, 5, and 6, maybe. All right, so I'm going to read these from the clear word. I want you to just, and then I'll give you the backdrop of really how this change thing is can work for all of us. So, verse number 1, if I can. Okay, he stumbled and fell blinded to the ground. They're talking about Saul. Then he heard a voice saying, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Trembling, Saul said, Who are you, Lord? The voice answered, I'm Jesus, the one you're persecuting. You've been fighting against, you've been the one you've been fighting against, and pricks of your own conscience ever since you've consented to Stephen's death. And you've been taking your anger out on my people. Saul said weakly, Lord, what do you want me to do? The Lord says, get up and go to Damascus. There you'll be told what to do. Read all of chapter 9. I want you to read that story. So to kind of give you a backdrop on Saul, Saul was very educated. Saul was an educated religious man. Saul knew the word. Saul knew the traditions. Saul knew everything about the Jewish culture and and how they lived. And he did not like what he saw in the followers of Christ. And so Saul started to persecute them, and got it. It reared his head when he instigated the stoning of Stephen. And so if you read the whole book of Acts, you'll be able to get all of these amazing stories. So he has Stephen stoned. Stephen is dead, but like you heard in the text, he didn't feel right. Something was nagging at him because of what he did. But because of what he did, he went even harder. In this same text, he had gotten basically recommendations from the high priest so that he could go to Damascus and basically go there, find other followers of Christ and persecute them. That's what he did. That's why he was going to Damascus. But here's what happens. Because of that prickling inside, and all of a sudden he had to change. Something had to rear its head to get him to see that what he was doing was not right. So here's the thing that I want to kind of bring to all of our attention. A lot of times we'll be going through something, right? And our conscience will be getting at us, how we are going about our day, our weeks, like, man, something's not right. But you're not changing. Maybe you've been, you were doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. You were involved with some people that shouldn't have been involved with. You were, eating food that you shouldn't be eating. Whatever the case may be, you knew it was wrong. You knew you shouldn't have been doing it, but you kept doing it. And sometimes you even get angry with other people, right? That's happened to me, right? I may have been doing something wrong. My kids start doing something. I get angry with them, more angry. And then what happens is, you'll get a prickling. You'll get something that'll hit you that'll say, man, you shouldn't even be doing that. Has that ever happened to you where you were, something was bothering you? You start taking it out on someone else, and then you realize that you were wrong. But a lot of times, some people don't stop doing that thing. They actually just keep going. never changing. And I'm gonna tell you the worst kind of change they have to go through. A wise man, once said, he says, it's nothing like quitting. It's nothing like um, having to quit when you are ahead. It's not like quitting when you're ahead. Quitting when you're ahead is not the same as quitting. Quitting when you're ahead is not the same as quitting. It's kind of like the person that quits before they get in trouble. The person that quits before they're doing something wrong, they quit before they get caught. It's nothing like the person that has to go through the worst pain in order to in order to actually make a change. I've heard many stories of, men, women who were caught cheating, on their husbands, their wives, their girlfriends. Like I'm using that because a lot of times people have opportunities to change before the worst thing can ever happen. Marriages have been lost because that person refused to change. And it's nothing like refusing to change when you know you should change. It's nothing like it. But it's nothing like when you are ahead and you see that you can change and you make the change. But in Saul's case, Saul did not make that. He did not do that. Basically, an act of God. God himself had to show up in his life, had to strike him down blind. Saul was stricken with blindness. And here he is on the ground, realizing that, man, I messed up. I can't see nothing. I don't know what's going to happen to me. But luckily, there was a plan for him. But he still had to stay diligent in belief because Jesus said to him, I want you to go and I want you to wait. In verse, let's see, let me go to the verse. Verse number 7. No, in verse number 6, it says, when Saul said, what do you want me to do? The Lord said, get up and go to Damascus. There you will be told what to do. See, the thing is, he didn't tell him how long. He didn't say, you're going to have to wait for 3 days. You're going to have to wait for 2 days. You don't have to wait. Saul realized where he was, and he would have had to be prepared to stay blind. He would have had to prepare to stay blind, like just stew in all of the crazy stuff that he had done, the people that he had killed, the folks that he had jailed, all these good people. He would have had to have lived with that. But there was a plan. See, there's always a plan. I remember, just to kind of give some story on myself, right? I remember sitting in the church, right? The church that I go to, I remember sitting in this church, and I was, I was just there. Like I wasn't in church for anything but the fact that I was just making making it look good. Yeah, I got kids. Yeah, I want to at least give them some sort of foundation, and so I'm going to church. But not even with the mindset that church is going to be something that's good for me. Even though I grew up in the church, but I didn't care. I was just like, I'm just here. And I remember sitting in the pew. And there was I think one of the elders was speaking. And usually, the elders speaking, they're not the pastor. You figure it's just gonna be what it is. And I remember getting a message from one of these elders, and I'm sitting there looking around like, why he talking to me? Like, I could hear the Spirit of the Lord talking to me, calling me out, saying, Jay, you got to change, man. Jay, you have got to turn your ways. Time is going to run out on you. And I'm sitting here like, hey, how you doing, Nicole? Thanks for joining me. Time's going to run out on you. And I'm sitting here like, oh, come on, get out of here. The next week, did it again. Another elder. I'm like, come on, man. But what I realized, just thinking about that comment that I made, quitting while you're ahead is not the same as quitting. See, I didn't have to go through major pain to quit, to major pain to change. What I did have to do is I had to take a leap of faith. Just like Saul had to take a leap of faith that at some point he would receive his sight and he would not receive the just due that he should get for all of what he did. And so if, when I was on that journey of making that transition from where I was to the potential, the possibilities of who was already inside of me, I had no clue where I was headed. None at all. I was blind, totally naked. But you know what? I realized at that moment, I was like, man, I'm being called out of where I am, and it doesn't matter where I'm at. Like, I can turn around. And I turned that day there, and there's a series of days. I just remember that there was some specific days that really caught my attention, that had me to realize that change starts with one thing. It starts with a decision that, you know what, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I don't know where I'm going. I just know that where I'm headed right now is not the direction I want to go in. And because I don't want to go that way, I'm willing to close my eyes and go the other way. That's literally what happened. So when Saul was sent back to Damascus, as you read in chapter 9 of Acts, when he went back to Damascus, he had to wait. He had to sit there. But he just prayed. He fasted. He didn't eat anything. He was just in there fasting and praying and fasting and praying, fasting and praying until it happened. Until it happened where when he got his eyesight back, his life was changed. His life was different. He total transformation in an instant. This is the transformation that you and I can experience. I've experienced this type of transformation. Like, literally, I'll probably write a book on it one day. I've experienced transformation. I've experienced a change that when I look back over my life and I see where he's brought me from, I just say to myself, I don't know, like, how did that happen? Have you ever wondered? Right? Someone says, well, you can go this way. The first thing that we always ask is, well, how do I do it? Like, if you were looking at what we're going to talk about, you say, well, Jay, well, how do I live the enlightened life? And I say, hey, there's the 7 C's. Change is the first thing that you got to do. That's the first thing we do. What do I have to change? I don't know. I have no idea what you have to change. You know what you have to change, but you have to be willing to change to the absolute best self that you can be, but you don't even know who that is yet. You have to be willing to basically allow this best self to show up, even though you don't even know that can happen. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about concentration. We're going to talk about how once you understand this best self, who you could be, this is the possibilities. And I want everybody, if you listen to this, if you are here and you're listening to this right now, you have to know that there's a change that can be made in your life that, if successfully done, you could basically do whatever it is that you've always wanted. I'm talking about the big stuff. I ain't talking about the little tiny things. Now, the little tiny things, you need those. We'll talk about the little tiny ones too, because I think that's on Tuesday. How little tiny things are going to help you to be able to keep moving. But in the beginning, all you have to do is turn from where you are, change from who you are to the possibility of who it is that you can be. And this is what stops many people. Many people start looking at, well, how do I do it? There's no way. I don't even know how this is possible. Well, you're looking at a living testimony of someone. I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of things. And God knows where I was. God knows where I've come from. See, he can look back and he can say, whoa, that guy right there, is headed exactly the place that I always wanted him to go. And I was talking to my wife yesterday because all things work together in his time. I was supposed to go to a school in Alabama, University of Alabama, Huntsville, and I was accepted. Me and my best friend were going to room together. It was about 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to school, and I went to my mom. I says, "Mom, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't know why I didn't want to go. Like when I look back, I had no reason to stay home. None. I had no reason to stay home. I needed to go to school. I told Mom I didn't want to go. And my mom didn't pressure me. She didn't say, you gotta go. She says, okay, well, if you're gonna be home, just, enroll in a community college. So I went and enrolled in a community college, right? But when I was talking to my wife yesterday, what I said is, I said, wow, I said, it's interesting because if you pay attention to your life, you'll see every place where God made an adjustment for you. He made an adjustment right there. Because I told her, I said, had I gone that direction, the life that we have now, God could have obviously helped us to meet each other, but we met each other in college. We were in the same class. We were in the same classes, same major. We worked behind each other. I worked at the men's dorm. She worked at the men's dorm, and she would come into work right after me. So we had to keep bumping into each other. And so when I look back at that, I said, that was divine intervention that stopped me from going one direction and brought me to another. That was a change that I had no part in. But as I was making it clear to my wife, I said, hey, look, it didn't matter. It didn't matter where you are in your life, right? See, because the change that we seek in others is the change that must happen within us. Because, we got kids and our kids are, we can see some things in our kids that we want to change. But then I say, hey, those same things are in us. We must change. To have things change, we must change. To be the best, in your neighborhood, or to have the best neighbors, you got to be the best neighbor. To have the best church members, you got to be the best church member. You know what I'm saying? To be the best teammate, you got to be the best teammate. Everything requires us to do this first C, and that's change. See, because once you understand and get into the mindset of, if it's up to me, then it'll be like everything that I do. I have to decide that I'm going to do. I can't wait for someone else, even though I want them to go with me, even though I know that they should be doing it as well. I've got to do it. See, this enlightened life, Saul, which he later became Paul, Saul had to go through a serious amount of pain before he would be fully enlightened. You may be going through a serious amount of pain today. You may be having financial difficulties. You may be having health challenges. You may be having relationship problems. You may be having, problems in your business and in your work. You may be having spiritual connection problems. You may be having mental challenges. You can't get your mind together. You're seeing things that you shouldn't be seeing. You may be going through some serious challenges today. See, if those challenges are in front of you, those challenges are an opportunity for a successful life. See, because if you're going through that challenge, there's another person going through that challenge. And not that you have to focus on that other person today. You've got to focus on you today. You've got to change. Because when you change, when you get your money right, when you get your health right, when you get your mind right, and when you get your spirituality right, and when you get your relationship, with your wife and your husband and your kids right, all these things will allow you to testify of the change that you received because of what you did. Not because of what someone else did, but because of what you did, what God has brought you through. See, God's going to bring you through it. See, I can't take any credit for where I've come from because I have had no clue that I would do some of the things that I do today. I had no clue that I had some of the amazing talents and gifts, but I realized that in order to have a talent and gift, you got to use it. You got to use it, and you got to abuse that gift to the point where it turns into two gifts. And then you abuse those two gifts to the point where it turns into four gifts. You abuse those four gifts to the point where it turns into eight gifts. And you abuse those eight till it turns into 16. You know how it goes. God will increase you 100-fold. It's in the Bible. The parable of those talents. It's in the Bible that all you have to do is use it. All you have to do is take it and use it. Use it prudently. Use it prudently, and he will increase you. He will. I've seen the increase. The increase comes abundantly every single day. I'm gonna tell you, every day that I turn on this camera, I get nervous. I get scared. I get scared because I'm like, man, what am I gonna say? But he told me some time ago, all you gotta do is do it. I'll give you every word. You never have to worry about where words are gonna come from. And literally, that's what happens. I never have to worry. The only thing, like I've got a goal to structure out my program more. But the first goal was just to turn on the camera and do it. Well, the first goal was to turn on the microphone because I did it audio style for over a year. And then back in, I think it was this September, maybe it was the end of September, 1st of October of this year, that he says, turn on the camera. Like my phone wouldn't work. I couldn't get the audio to work. And then you can only do audio on the phone. And then he made me turn the camera on to do it this way. I was like, why? Not many people show up. Don't worry about it. Just do it. See, because sometimes when you're preparing for something, you just got to keep going. TD Jakes talks about how for 10 years, he never had more than 100 people ever show up at his church in West Virginia. For 10 years. But he spoke with vigor. He was convicted that this is what he was born to do, and he kept doing it. But see, what happens is people don't see the struggle that you go through. People don't see it, and they discount the success, and they say all sorts of things about you. But you just got to know that, man, you need haters. I think I got my first hater over the weekend. Maybe it was Friday. I was like, yo, that's good. I was excited. The negativity that I received for something that I put out there. Negative. I was just like, yes. I'm finally making a dent. See, because if you don't get any negativity, then you're not doing enough. You got to post things that people may disagree with you on. You got to say things that, like, you may not agree with me on this change you're having an enlightened life because you may be going there. You just say, hey, I don't agree with you. Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I don't even, you know what? And what I've learned is not to even respond. No response. You don't respond to it. I just keep moving. I just know that it has to happen. So guys, this first C to the enlightened life is you must change. You can change two ways. You can change through an act of God, like Saul, something big happened in your life that you probably hope wouldn't happen. Or you can change while you're ahead. While you're ahead, before anything hits the fan, before your health gets totally out of control, before your marriage gets turned upside down, before you're totally broke, before you totally go crazy in your mind, before any of those bad things happen, you can change while you are ahead. So I welcome you today to use this one word, change. Change is the same as being open. Change is the same as saying, you know what, I want to grow. I want to grow my life, but I must change in order to do that. Use change to fuel your new enlightened life. And I can guarantee you, I can't guarantee where you're going to be because I don't know your goals, your aspirations, but I can guarantee you with certainty that you will live the enlightened life and you'll be all the much better for it. All right, guys, I appreciate you for joining me today for the first C of the Enlightenment series, change. The first C to the enlightened life, which I'm personally living. I'm a living testimony uh, of this enlightened life, and I'm going to share with you some biblical stories of folks that may have dealt with some of these C's. God willing, he'll give me all of the messages that I'll be able to share with you this week. And so I appreciate you for joining me. If you got all the way here, it's 26 minutes. I'm so thankful that you listened to this whole enlightenment, and definitely you are out for a blessing. So I look forward to connecting with you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you have not liked or subscribed Jay Moore the Healthy Accountant on Facebook, and if you have not subscribed on YouTube, please, 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 please stay in connection with me, because I would love to continue to share these messages with you. And if you get value from these programs, if you could share it with your friends, your family, your connections, then that would mean the world to me, because that would let me know that what I'm saying, what I am doing, is helping someone else. All right, guys. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll be talking about concentration. Concentration after you've decided to change. God bless you.